Okay, so we've helped hundreds and thousands of women during perimenopause and menopause. And over that time, there's three things that just keep coming up again and again and again. And today I'm going to talk you through these three things. I call it triple S, or the three S's, that are so critically important to help you manage this transition naturally, because that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's your body doing what it needs to do. And the more you can support and nourish your body during this time, the less symptoms you're going to have and easier it is to navigate. And these three things, triple S, make a huge difference. And I just feel that a lot of you don't really get it, the importance of these three things. And if you can nail these three elements, it's going to make a huge difference to your journey. So stay tuned. Right, three S's: stress, sleep, and sugar. And you probably don't want to hear about any of those three because they're potentially all issues in your life, but that's what we see over and over again with so many women. These three things are critically important if you want to manage this process naturally. So let's talk about stress. Now, stress is, if not the most important thing, one of the most important things when it comes to all hormonal imbalances, but particularly at this time of life. And I see it many, many, many times, is women that have had chronic stress through their lives or currently have a lot of stress, they really struggle to respond to happy hormones, because what happy hormones does is it supports an axis called your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. And this is the connection between here and your adrenals to produce the hormones that you need as you start to transition through, because your levels of estrogen drop, your levels of progesterone drop, and your adrenals take over the production of an alternate hormone system. So whilst a lot of the medical profession are focusing on estrogen and progesterone, while your body's actually wanting to drop these levels, it's your adrenal glands that are key to support this transition. And stress, where does stress affect your adrenal glands? And if your body is constantly in that stress state, it doesn't have the energy to produce the hormones that you need to support that transition process. So stress is just so, so important. And what I want you to understand, that stress is accumulative. It's lots of these little things that occur, but also relaxation is accumulative too. So you've got to balance those scales out and be really acutely aware of the negative impacts of stress. And just through my own experiences with biometrics and monitoring in the last couple of years, I can really see the impact of stress has on my overall health. And when you're in a stressful state, your energy levels just burn down really quickly through the day. But when you're in a calm state, and if I'm doing the right breath work and I'm doing my cold therapy and I'm exercising, my resilience is much better. And when my stress level's under control, my body can communicate properly with itself. All the systems work properly. But when it's not, then this is a big problem. Everything tends to fall over. And if you can keep a cap on those stress levels through, as I said, exercise, breath work, meditation, getting enough sleep, avoiding stimulants, it's really, really, really important at this time of life. So don't just brush it off. Well, that's my life. Give it the focus that it needs, because it's probably one of the most important things at this time of life. You need to nourish your body, and you need to be acutely aware that stress is going to derail that process of what the body is trying to do. Stress. Second one is sleep, and the two go hand in hand. Unfortunately, often a lot of women, their sleep goes out the window when they head into perimenopause, and definitely menopause when you're getting the hot flushes. But sleep is more than just a singular thing that stops you sleeping. Sleep is a whole habitual process. It's cyclic, and everything that you do during your waking hours affects how you sleep at nighttime. And I want you to really understand that. So a lot of people think, oh, okay, it's an hour before bed, I better get myself in the right frame of mind to sleep. It's never going to work. It's that stress accumulation during the day that has the biggest impact on your sleep at nighttime. So it's really, really important that you focus on during the day, doing all of the right things, releasing that stress. Exercise is really, really key to physically exhaust you and get rid of a lot of this mental headspace that's going on. And then you can sleep properly. Avoiding stimulants. We're going to talk about sugar in a minute. But any of your soft drinks, anything like that, any foods that are heavily flavored. So a lot of your processed foods and foods with sauces, there's a lot of stimulants in those foods. And what we find when people do the reset program, they get rid of all that processed food. It calms the nervous system and they can sleep so much better. Coffee, it's another big trigger of hot flushes. So getting rid of all these stimulants through the day. And stimulants, stress, to go hand in hand, right? So there's a link there. So really focusing on your sleep hygiene, making sure you get into bed early, stay away from screen time, eat early. And a big one that I see is avoid sugar. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but avoid sugar after 6 p.m. because sugar can really disrupt your sleep. Because what happens if you're having some Sara Lee ice cream or some sweets, as we often do after dinner, crave something sweet, what happens is you get that spike in blood sugar, but then you get a crash. And that's usually when you're waking at 1 or 2 in the morning. That's because you've had a blood sugar level crash and it wakes you up. And that's associated with your liver as well. So really important that you avoid that sugar late in the evening and avoid eating large meals. So focus on your sleep hygiene. We've got a lot of information, a lot of articles about sleep and how to get a good night's sleep. But it's not just one thing. You've really got to understand your health and well-being. And the healthier you are, the better you will sleep, the deeper you will sleep, and the longer the duration of that deep sleep and REM. And they say that people that can get 4 hours of quality sleep are happy people, all right? And that's what it all boils down to. The happier you are, the more content you are, the better you'll sleep. But happiness and contentment and mental health goes with our physical health. Just think about that for a bit as well. So manage your stress levels, focus on sleep hygiene, sugar. These are the 3 things. So sugar. Sugar is a stimulant, but sugar is just so pervasive in our lives. It's so damaging for our health. And what happens coming into perimenopause is you become a lot more susceptible to insulin resistance. So that means your body doesn't regulate that sugar as much anymore. And pre-40, you probably get away with it to a certain degree. But there's a lot of research that shows that weight gain around the middle, perimenopause and menopause, is more to do with insulin resistance than it is to do with hormones. But as you go into perimenopause and your levels of hormones drop, that insulin sensitivity reduces as well. Another side note is when you don't sleep well, you let your insulin resistance goes out the window as well. So it's all interconnected. And that's why I say these 3 S's, stress, sleep, and sugar, they're really, really important as a connection. So with sugar, what happens is the sugar, it's a toxin to our system. And the amount of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that we see, so the same thing as alcoholics, we see from particularly women, but also men, we see at this time of life. So we're literally damaging our livers from having too much sugar. And if you've been guilty of sitting down and polishing off a tub of Sara Lee ice cream, it's the same as drinking a bottle of whiskey for your liver, maybe worse. And what we're finding is all these women are suffering from fatty livers, just like ducks and foie gras. The livers are just full of fat, and it goes further than that. It goes into your skeletal tissue as well. And it's a really invasive situation in your body that's damaging your body, not just in your liver, but your cardiovascular health, and it affects your hormones as a 3rd step from that as well. So really, really important to just cut out the simple sugars, read the labels of what you're having, reduce down the amount of total carbohydrate you have in any meal. And I was guilty of this and had the problem of insulin resistance as well. And I realized I was just having too much carbohydrate in any one sitting. So now I reduce the amount of carbohydrate down. It's all complex carbohydrates, good carbohydrates, but at the end of the day, it's still all sugar. So I needed to reduce the amount that I was having. So no big bowls of pasta or rice. I tend to now try and balance that out with protein. All right. So those 3 things are really, really critical at this time of life. Stress, manage your stress. Stress is accumulative, but so too is relaxation. Make sure that if you're stressed, that you're putting these activities into your schedule to offset that stress. It's so, so important. I'd probably say it's number 1, because that stress then affects your sleep. All right. If you're not sleeping well, You've got to do everything you can to get yourself sleeping well. And if you're getting those hot flushes, that's where things like happy hormones come in to dial down those hot flushes so you can get a good night's sleep. So it's this insidious circle that's happening. And then sugar, it just layers on top and really just has a massive impact on our liver's ability, particularly to process hormones. And the liver does so many things within our body. It regulates our sugar levels, and that if you're having too much sugar and you've got this insulin resistance, then you're going to be waking up at nighttime as well. So it's all interconnected. So I know there's so much information out there, and we're always giving you so many tips and tricks, but these three things are just the most important things for you to consider at this time of life if you want to transition naturally. If you don't want to do this, and you want to continue with the sugar and drink alcohol and you've just got a stressful job, then probably HRT is the route for you to go, because our approach is more than likely not going to work because we need these mechanisms taken care of. And that's why we have other tools, things like Happy Calm, which is a great one just to take the edge off stress, MSP, which calms and relaxes the system, and then we have Happy Hormones. And then we've got a Happy Liver for the liver. We've got these other tools, but if you're doing all these wrong things, and a lot of women are just oblivious to the negative impacts of these three things. And that's why I'm doing this video. Keep in your mind, triple S, stress, sleep, sugar. Take care of them yourself. That's what you can do. Then you can use our products as tools, as catalysts to help you through this time of life. But really, you got to take care of these core things if you want to journey naturally, because it is a natural process. And the body is not faulty. It's not diseased as the medical profession. They want to medicalize perimenopause and menopause. It's not a disease. It's a process. Nourish, support your body during this time, and then you'll be able to cruise through this time relatively symptom-free, and then you come out of it within a couple of years and everything's going to be fine from there. Whereas if you go down that HRT route, maybe it's going to be 5, 10, 15 years. And then eventually you've got to go through that process anyway with the hot flushes and everything else. So much better, first of all, to try and transition naturally, but you've got to remember those three S's: stress, sleep, and sugar.